Hello, I understand you want to go Viking. Fantastic. Before we start going Viking, let me tell you a few things about where the Vikings are occurring and how we got to that point. So here we are in Canada, that's Saskatoon area right there. And over here, this is where Norway, Sweden, Finland, England, all that good stuff in the North Sea, that's where all the Vikings happening. Okay, so that's where we're going to go. Now way back when, way back when, the Viking people, or Norsemen, all right, living along the coast of Sweden and Norway and all that area, they were farmers. They raised crops, they raised livestock, but the soil's pretty thin, it doesn't produce a lot, but by being seafaring people and living right on the ocean, they ate a lot of fish and things like that. But if you're going to get the fish, you need a boat. Now, being boat building people, they kept building better and better boats. Okay, got out further, did better things, carried more stuff, and they met up with other people, of course, and they borrowed ideas from them, and eventually, over much time, many years, hundreds of years, they came up eventually with the Longship design of the vessel. And once they discovered the Longship, and they figured out, hey, we can go a lot further to many different places and do trading, and if they don't want to trade with us, well, we could do raiding. All right, so now that they were not only agriculturalists, and they were fishermen, and they built boats, and they built better boats, and eventually they came up with the Longship design. The Longship design was fantastic, because what it would allow you to do is get very close to shore. They hardly need very little bit of water to float in. They could carry 35 to 120 warriors in a vessel. Is a good thing happening. They invented the sail, and once that came along, they could go a lot further because oars, sails, gets you places. So it's good stuff. Here we have a little diagram of all the different places they started going, trading for different materials, iron, to build tools, weapons, things of that nature. So it was a good thing. And eventually they said, you know what, if you're not going to trade with us, we're going to raid you. And eventually the Vikings started raiding all sorts of places like England and France and places like that. And they were trading and raiding and generally having a good Viking time. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to find out a little bit more about what is this Longship. I'm going to put this to the side. All right, so Longship. How are we going to build ourselves a Longship? First off, a Longship. How long is a Longship? Well, if you were to take your average car today and you were to take the outline of a Longship is actually 1, 2, then you have to go 2 wide because it has a width, and put in a couple more cars like this. All right. So that means a Longship, if you're walking down the street and you want to know how long a Longship is, 1, 2, and then the width of 2 cars, that's another car. So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 cars long. That's how long a Longship is. And it's about 1 car wide, okay? And how deep is it from plank to bottom? If you took a car and put it on its side, that's how deep the Longship is, from the top of it to the bottom of it. All right. Now the nice thing, as I was saying earlier, about a Longship, is that it doesn't need a lot of water to float in. This is a meter stick, right? I'm sure you have one in your house. Put the meter stick up like that. That is how much water it only needs to float in. So we can get really close to shore to load things and take things and in and out, and then get very close for all your warriors to jump out and get onto land and do their thing. So it only needs 3 feet or 1 meter of water to float in. Also, it carries 35 to 120 warriors, depending on what you're doing. If you're trading or raiding, who knows who needs to come? You got room for 35 to 120 of them. All right. Now next, I'm going to put my Longship down here. We need some wood. And the wood for the Longship is pretty much oak trees. All right. Now, how many oak trees do you need to build a Longship? You need the equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. some more wood. 7, 8, 9, and one more, 10. You need the equivalency of 10 vehicles. The whole volume that these 10 vehicles take up. So if you go in the parking lot and you look at 10 vehicles put together, that's how much wood, oak wood, needs to go into a longship. Now they also built other things for the longship, such as planks and oars and masts. So all the oars and the planks and the masts, that was built out of pine. But the main part of the vessel that helped keep the water out and made it float, that was oak. All right. Now the other thing that's interesting is, not only do you need all these oak trees, but you need a single oak, a single long trunk, the same length as 3.5 cars. One long piece, and that's for the keel or the bottom of the boat. All right. So when they're hunting through the forest, they'd be identifying different trees and shapes or different parts of the boat and start harvesting that. So lots of wood goes into the longship. All right. Now something else that helped keep the longship all together and not going to the bottom of the ocean was iron. And they built nails and rivets and things of that nature. But where did they get the iron from? All around their country, in Norway, Sweden, whatnot, are bogs. And in those bogs is peat. And underneath the peat, when they pull the peat back, here's my peat bog, all right, there's my peat bog. When you pull the peat back, underneath the peat moss are these pea-sized pieces of what's called bog iron. And they would go around and we'd pull back the peat moss and looking for these pea-sized pieces of bog iron. And with that, the bog iron, they would need 150 kilograms or 330 pounds of bog iron made into actual iron that can be made into nails and washers and things like that to help keep the ship together. They also used tar. And the way they made tar is that they would take the roots of the pine trees that they were harvesting for all their material on the ship. They take those roots, put them into a pit that was lined with birch bark. And they had a way of starting a fire so it wouldn't actually cause flame, but it caused a lot of heat. And that heat would actually boil the sap out of the pine roots. And they take that sap along with animal hair and whatever plant fibers, the sheep wool, and they'd soak it and they'd stuff that into the different cracks in the vessel to help keep up the water. Then they'd take whatever tar they had, and they could make a lot of this stuff, and they'd paint the entire ship with tar. So you can imagine what a sticky time that would be to be on the ship with all that tar, but the tar was important because it waterproofed the wood and helped it to float. All right. Now, the sail. Without sheep, there wouldn't be a lot of sailing because sheep make wool, okay? And they would have to make enough wool. Like spin it, harvest enough wool from, are you gonna stand up from your sheepy? No, he's gonna have a nap. Okay, he's gonna have a nap. So the sheep, they would have to harvest enough wool from the sheep in order to make a sail that was, let's say here, 3 by 3. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, maybe this is, oh, I can't remember. Oh, I got it. There we go. My puzzle. Okay. If you go to a parking place, like a grocery store, and you see 6 cars parked in this fashion, that amount of space is how big the sail on a Viking ship is. So they would have to harvest enough wool and then spin that wool to make a sail that big. And that would take up to 2 to 3 years to make one sail for that longship. Then once they made that sail for the longship, they would smear it in fat and oils and things of that nature to make it windproof. So now you've got this longship that is smeared with tar. You've got this sail that's smeared with fat and oil. You could imagine what a lovely place that would be on a hot summer day. Viking is so much fun. All right, now, speed. Okay, so we've got ourselves a sail. We got ourselves some oars, 32 oars, all right? How fast are we going to go? With the sail can actually travel the Longship at approximately 15 to 20 knots, which is 37 kilometers per hour. Your school zone is 30 kilometers an hour. So when you're seeing traffic going through your school zone at 30 clicks, that's pretty much how fast your Viking ship was going as well. 30 to 37 kilometers an hour. Now, if you had no wind, or let's say you're on a river and it's really tight to move around, you can't really control the ship with the wind, you want more control by using the oars, well, you can use those oars, and those oars will travel at 5 to 6 knots, which is about 11 kilometers per hour. We walk at 5 kilometers per hour. So it's pretty much at a slow little run, right? So that you can get places where you want to go, either by oar or by sail. All right. Now, how long is this going to take us to build our Longship? Now you have to remember, first things first, you are a farmer. The first responsibility to your community is to raise your livestock, raise your crops, feed your family, but also have enough in storage to survive the winter. That's your first responsibility, all right? Now, some experimental archaeologists got together and decided, hey, let's build ourselves a Longship and see how long it takes. And they discovered that if you have 100 people, and you gave each of those 100 people different tasks, build different components of the Longship, 11 hours per week, 100 people, each 11 hours a week, because remember your primary responsibility is agriculture and fishing. So you have some spare time, 11 hours a week, 36 weeks or 9 months, which is pretty much 40,000 hours of labor, you could build yourself a Longship. So with 40,000 hours of labor from 100 people in 9 months, because during the winter months you didn't do much building because everything's frozen, you got yourselves a Longship. So that's a lot of time. All right. Guess what you're doing on your spare time? Building a Longship. All right. Now that you have your Longship built, what about your comfort? Well, your Longship is an open vessel, right? It's open to the elements. So you've got, you're open to the elements, you're open to the sun, the rain, the wind, not a lot of shelter. So they would use the sail as a shelter from time to time because it's waterproof and windproof, but it stinks. Remember, it's still full of sheep oil and fat, okay? So wool was very important clothing because wool, whether it's dry or wet, will still retain heat and help you stay warm. So there's the wool clothing. There was leather, okay? You'd have yourself a leather sleeping sack. Now, doesn't that sound pleasant? You get yourself a leather sleeping sack, so you put your stuff in your leather sleeping sack for the daytime, then you empty it and you sleep in your sack for the nighttime. There you go, so leather. And you also had animal hides of various descriptions to help keep you warm as well. All right, now, you have, so the Longship here, you've got wool clothes, animal hides, and leather sleeping sack. You've got yourself exposed to the sun and the rain. You have tar sticking to your clothes and skin. You have stench from the fats in the sail. You eat dried meat and sour milk 3 times a day, if not more. It's crowded, it's cold, it's smelly, it's dangerous, there's storms, and there's rocks. And some of these vessels didn't make it where they're going, because also there's no PFDs. All right, personal flotation device. Okay. All right, so we need a destination. Now that we have our knowledge of how the Longship is all put together, we have to go somewhere. And I think where we're going to go is the 9 realms of Norse mythology. All right. So just ask my camera person if they can see that. Is that good? All right, camera person says good. So here we have our 9 realms of Norse mythology. We have our 2 ravens up here. Those are Odin's ravens, Hugin and Mugen, thought and memory. We have a hawk that lives between the eyes of this eagle here. And we have the squirrel, Ratatstok, and we have the dragon, Nidhogg. And this squirrel likes to cause some disturbance. He likes to go up to the hawk that lives between the eagle's eyes and say, guess what the dragon said about you? And of course it's insults and whatnot, but it's a lie. And then the hawk gets all upset and says, well, this is what I think about the dragon. And so the squirrel runs down and tells Nidhogg the dragon, blah, blah, blah. And then says more about this hawk and blah. So the squirrel just likes to disturb things, get things going. And that's what he does. Over here we have some deer, and they represent the four winds. They represent the 4 points of direction, the 4 elements, earth, wind, fire. I forgot the fourth one. So, and we have here, this is the wolf serpent that surrounds the world. And at the time of Ragnarok, at the end of days, when all the gods and the humans have their little war and all the demons, the wolf serpent will release its tail, causing earthquakes to occur throughout the land. Now, here we have, okay, Elfheim. That is your light elves, and they have magic, and sometimes they like to help out the humans, but a lot of times they like to trick the humans with their magic. We have Asgard, and that is the home of the gods, home of Odin, and here we have Valhalla, where all the brave slain warriors go. Over here we have Vatenheim, but what some people don't know is that here in Vatenheim, there's also a hall called the Hall of Many Seats, and at a battle, the first group that gets to go down and pick brave, fallen soldiers is Vatenheim. Vatenheim goes down, they pick the ones they want, they go to Vatenheim and lead a nice little peaceful life there. But here in Valhalla, when Odin goes down to pick his warriors, he likes to pick the elite ones. And he brings those brave elite warriors who passed away on the battlefield, he brings them up to Valhalla because he wants them trained and be prepared for Ragnarok when all the demons attack the gods. So there's that. And then down here, here's the Rainbow Bridge, or the Bifrost Bridge. And that is the bridge that allows humans and gods to come in contact with each other. We have Midgard, and that is the home of the humans. We have Jotunheim, that is the land of giants named Jotuns. Loki is a Jotun, but Loki actually had a relationship with one of the gods, or Loki's mother, I should say, and that's why he hangs out with the gods, but he's also a Jotun, so he's kind of a little confused with old Loki there. Over here in Nidavellir, that is the home of the dwarves. And the dwarves, they're the ones that fashion a lot of precious jewels and golds and make interesting magical things, but they have their cousins down here in Svartalheim, and they are the dark elves in Svartalheim. So the dwarves in Nidavellir and the dark elves in Svartalheim, they're connected with the labyrinth of tunnels and whatnot, and they make a lot of precious magical items that are desired by different gods. All right. Here we have Hell, and that is where all the dishonorable dead go. That is where, if you were not a brave enough fighter or whatever on the battlefield, you went to Helheim. And Niflheim, that is the land of the frost giants. And in Niflheim, there is a castle along the shore of corpses. There's a castle, and in that castle, all the bad people are kept, like murderers and things of that nature. And Nidhogg feeds on those bodies to keep going, waiting for Ragnarok to show up. And over here we have Muspelheim, and Muspelheim is the land of the fire giants. All right. And here we have Yggdrasil, which is the tree of life that holds all these different realms and its branches at its base and its roots. That's Yggdrasil, the tree of life.